Good morning. This is your host, Kristi Slaughter on SuperTalk Radio, WFHG 92.9. I'm joined with my next special guest. His name is Marc Eubanks. He is the club manager at the Olde Farm. We're on location talking about this exciting event that you folks are going to be hosting on September the 10th. Thank you so much for being with me, Marc.
Thank you for inviting me to your show. Thank you so much.
I had the opportunity to come to the Olde Farm when you all did the press conference, and I got to talk to some people there with Mountain Mission School and did some really interesting interviews and found out a lot about why these students and teachers are so passionate about this wonderful school. And then over time, I've been able to learn more and more. So I just want to thank you for doing this event and raising money for the school. This is going to be something that our area has never seen before. Talk to us a little bit about what we're going to be able to expect on September 10th.
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to help spread the word, create awareness about American legends as well as the Mountain Mission School. September the 10th is going to be a remarkable day. We trust that it's going to be a unique experience, and as you mentioned, we hope it's historical with our fundraising capabilities, but also from a patron experience. Our patrons, our ticket holders that are going to be here, our sponsors, various levels of sponsors. We hope to have about 4,000 people on property. We're going to open the gates that morning at 8 o'clock. We've got a courtyard experience in front of our lodge and our pavilion where you can get breakfast and coffee. Also, you can shop merchandise. There's a silent auction. And that morning around 9:30, 9:45, we'll introduce the American legends. And we'll have a program which will feature the Mountain Mission children. We'll have an invocation. We'll sing the national anthem. We'll have a presentation of the color guard. And then we'll get started at 11 o'clock. And throughout the day, it'll be a grand opportunity to interact with the legends. And I think it'll provide for a great experience. There'll be concessions, plenty of opportunity to have a remarkable experience.
This is a fabulous location to host an event such as this. I grew up in the area, so I'm well familiar with the Olde Farm. But recently I've been talking to some people and spreading awareness of the event that's going to be happening in September, and they've just moved to the area and they're not familiar with what the Olde Farm is. If we have listeners, let's say for some reason or another, they don't know what the Olde Farm is, talk to us a little bit about this location and the club itself.
The Olde Farm is an exclusive private golf club, but it's also a social club as well. We have members that are local, and we also have members that are international. They're from all over the nation. It started originally whenever we opened the golf course in 2000 with 100 founding members, and those were basically members that were friends of Mr. McLaughlin. That's where it started, and then over the past 20 years, it's grown. It's a friend of Mr. McLaughlin. It's a friend of a friend. It's people in the sports community. It's heads of industry. It's former presidents. So this is a place for our membership to come and escape the frenetic pace of modern day life. And we hope that while they're here that they get into a flow moment to where they can relax and ultimately be inspired so that they can leave here and go back to their place and ultimately change the world. And that's what they're doing. Come back and be revived by their time at the Olde Farm. It's Southern hospitality and golf at its best. It's a great culinary experience, and in the golf industry, there's many world champion golf courses. There's people that have cottages, golf courses that have cottages, and wonderful experiences. But we hope that we differentiate ourselves from the others, just with that personal connection that we have with our members and our servant leadership.
How long have you been with the Olde Farm?
This spring was my 20th anniversary.
20.
So I was the original golf course superintendent. I was the first Olde Farm employee that was hired back in 1998. And in 2004, I became the club manager. So I've seen it evolve over the past 20 years. It's kind of like at the inception, you're planting trees and you're envisioning how things will be in 10 years. And 20 years later, you're going, wow, that's overgrown. We need to get that and restore it back to what its original condition is. So it's a beautiful piece of property, and it's a great golf course and a great experience, great membership. I guess as a general manager, you're supposed to say that. But we truly have the best people in the world. I mean, I love our membership, and miss them whenever they're not here, and they miss a tournament, etc. So wonderful people.
In a lot of ways, this is a second home to you. This is probably an extension of your home.
Along that line, whenever I have 2 boys and a wonderful wife, Monique, and she's basically sometimes the mother and the father. But our youngest child looked one day and said, let's go see Daddy at Daddy's house. And he thought that the clubhouse was Daddy's house, because every time he'd come out to see me, he thought that. But
that would be a beautiful house. Most people probably would not argue with that.
That also means you're working too much. So, but there's ample opportunity. You keep it all in balance, and I am blessed to have a wonderful wife who understands and knows whenever it's time to cut hay, you cut hay, and she supports me. Great woman.
And I'm sure, being the club manager, you probably wear numerous hats, and they probably change depending on what events and who you're hosting and things like that.
It's yes, as the department managers, our golf professional, and our food and beverage director, and our chefs, and of course the agronomic staff, our golf course superintendent, since that's my background, they always give me an advice no matter what the event is. They say, just stay out of the way and everything will be fine. So
just smile and greet people and shake their hands.
Right, but whenever they don't know where something's buried or planted or there's a major problem, then they come and find me. So the greatest thing that I get to do is I get to interact with our staff and our membership, and I get to serve on a daily basis, and it provides for a lot of self-gratification, and I think that's an extension of our owner. He has those expectations. I have those expectations, and the great people that come and work here, from the 18-year-old kid to the college student, all walks of life, different backgrounds, they're all servant leaders. They all know how to put the needs of others before their own, and that's something that they volunteer. You can't pay a person to do that. So I'm surrounded by a lot of great people that put the needs of others before their own, and it makes for a lot of gratification at the end of the day.
And on September the 10th, for this fundraiser, people maybe who have not been to this course or been to the Old Farm before, really that's going to be interesting, and a destination all into its own, not to mention the wonderful celebrities that you're going to have here.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day by all means, because of getting those 10 legends together to get Peyton Manning and Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player and Jerry West, Lanny Watkins, Dan Marino, all together at one time. There will be some synergy, and so I can't wait to be a part of that. But you touched on something. We hope that not only will they come and our patrons and visit, and many for the first time, and see the beautiful landscape, they'll also be able to experience the Old Farm experience, and that's ultimately what we like to call it. Did we provide the Old Farm experience? And with 4,000 people on property, it's going to be difficult for some of the intimacy that we're known for, that is the hallmark of the Old Farm experience. But we've got some creative ways that we're going to have some interaction and be able to leave people with that. The key is going to be our staff, as well as a crew of over 200 volunteers. So although it's just a one-day event, it has to be operated like one of the days of a PGA Tour event, who has helped us immensely, being one of our sponsors. They've helped us understand what needs to happen that day from all aspects logistically. So we think that we'll be able to share the Old Farm experience on that day. Not as well as we'd like if you were here with just 20 people, but we'll convey it.
We need to take a quick commercial break here in just a few minutes, but when we come back, I would love it if you would tell our listeners about how the initial process began becoming involved with Mountain Mission Kids, and why you are so passionate about giving back to the community and to these children in these ways. Can you stay with us for just a few minutes?
Would love to. Thank you, ma'am.
We'll be back in just a moment. This is your host, Kristi Slaughter, on SuperTalk Radio, WFHG 92.9.
At Mount Mission. And that's the place that they're taking care of these at-risk children. They come from all walks of life. So I think it's been his passion, and it's not just a need to take care of children. We also look at it as it's for the future of our country. you're basically training and educating these children to go out and be leaders. And it's remarkable the circumstances that many of them found themselves in life, and now they're at Mount Mission, which is a opportunity for them to get refuge from whatever at-risk situation they were in. It's an opportunity for them to get educated at the highest level. It's an opportunity for them to have family, receive love, and also learn about Christianity. And those are all great things that they're doing up at Mount Mission School. And Jim recognized that we got to support this. This has got to continue. So it was founded in basically 1921. We're almost 100 years that they've been serving the needs of these children. It's our goal, and this is our entire focus with the American Legends, to generate enough funds for an endowment so that we can ensure sustainability for Mount Mission for the next century. And basically there's $1 million deficit annually between private donations and operating expenses, where they're housing 250 to 300 children from age 18 to 18. And we know that this endowment fund is going to offset that deficit and allow Mount Mission to continue to serve the needs of these children. And that's what this is all about.
One of the things that I thought was really unique when I got to talk to some of the students and a teacher who lives there with her husband, these students, it's their entire basically existence. Their care, they sleep there, they're fed there. It's really their home. And it takes quite a lot of money for each student to be able to be taken care of. Plus you have all the teachers and the staffs. And when I got to speak to some of them, it was very heartwarming at what the school meant to them and why they are involved in it. And it's a family. It's an extension of their family, which is really unique. I don't know any other place like Mountain Mission that is really doing that for people. And I had the opportunity after I was here for the press conference to talk to a couple people who are really involved in the school. And this is not something that they talk about, and we're not going to bring that up because that's not really the focus and getting into details. But some of the obstacles that these children have had to deal with in their lives, most of us could not even fathom what they've had to go through. A lot of these students, the families and environments that they came from, and then to be able to find a place in a rural area in Grundy, Virginia, that gives these children a future and a life that they might not have had before is pretty remarkable.
It is remarkable. It's very remarkable. And that's why we have to create sustainability for this school. What they're doing is just not impacting solely these children. It is. But I think in turn, over time, it's impacting our nation. And it's a mandate. It's a mandate from our Heavenly Father to take care of the orphan and the widow. These children, I see no different between an orphan and someone that in some other walk of life that has had to endure certain situations. They can be removed from that. They can be rescued from that. They can find refuge at Mount Mission, and then they can receive an education. They can receive, education is great, but love and companionship and fellowship, and it is a home. There's a story I'd like to share with you. I'm sure that many of your listeners may know about it, but on April the 3rd, there was a thunderstorm up at Mount Mission, and a tree fell on a power line, and the power line fell on the boys' dormitory. It caught fire. There were no injuries. Let me say that first, because that's what everybody wants to know. There were no injuries of the faculty or the children. But basically the building was lost. The HVAC, the electrical system, because it caught fire. Then they had to put the fire out. So basically these boys in the boys' dorm were displaced. And there were some people in the community that took several of the children in, and then they also set up a makeshift dorm in the gym. And so there's pictures of, you can see how they've made their home there. But there was a chalkboard that was in there, and they were communicating, the kids were communicating with the workers that were coming in to restore. It happens to be Paul Davis Restoration. And they're doing the rest, they're reclaiming it, and they're restoring it and putting it back, but they're writing notes on the chalkboard. And one of the notes, I've got a picture of it. We're actually going to use it in a video that'll be on our website, but it says, "Thanks for restoring our home." I may have misquoted that, but basically that's the gist of it. And thanks for taking care of our home. And it's their home, even as they're in the gym right now. So it's a worthwhile cause.
And then you get to be part of this, blessing generations and generations by doing this fundraiser. And it's going to be a huge, massive magnitude of a fundraiser. One of the things that I love about this particular fundraiser, you're just going for it. I don't know how else to say it. You're just saying, this is what our goal is. This is how much money we want to raise because we want the school to be sustainable for the next 100 years. Instead of doing lots of little fundraisers, being able to say, we trust that the money is going to come and that this is going to be successful and these children are going to be blessed and the school is going to be blessed, period. Which is really, it gives me chills. It's really a unique approach, and I think it's something that has a lot of passion and power behind it, and I think it's great. It's
faith-based. It's also, you have a visionary in Mr. McLaughlin. He's also got a tremendous amount of resources, just contacts, people that support him. And through the years, now see, he's been working on this for years. So since he's been in Grundy, and he's in his mid-70s now, so it's decades that he's been pouring out for Mount Mission and spreading the word. But whenever he picks up the telephone and makes a call and asks somebody to be a part of this, the answer is yes. It's not a matter, you don't talk about, well, how much are you going to be able to donate, et cetera. It's just, we're going to get behind this. It's a worthwhile cause. And, it's you have the faith that it's going to take the shape that it needs to. There are so many people in this community. You look at the Gregory Pharmaceuticals, the Gregory family. You look at what they've done through decades to help others, locally, regionally, nationally, and of course internationally. They have an organization called Serving Orphans Worldwide where they take care of 52 orphanages on 5 different continents. You pick up the phone and you call Dr. Gregory and you say, "Dr. Gregory, we'd like your assistance with Mount Mission." And then, of course, he says, by all means. You talk to Steve Smith at Food City and you say, "It's your 100-year anniversary. We know you're doing so much in this community. You have been forever. You're doing a lot this year because it's your 100-year anniversary. We would love, because of your ties to Grundy and everything that you and your family mean to Mount Mission School." These are supporters anyway. And so they get on board. And then you start asking people to be involved, and they say yes. And then you get the momentum, and then you have people start contacting you saying, "How can I help?"
They want to be involved.
Right. So yesterday we had a little call-a-thon. We were down, a couple of us got into a room, actually 7 or 8 of us did, and we started calling people, friends and associates, and we were able to raise, almost $500,000 yesterday by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, starting at 10 in the morning. But they're remarkable people that are carrying the torch for this mission, and there are just so many remarkable people that are giving at such various levels. And collectively, it's going to be historic. Once you add it up at the end, it'll be historic, and we will have achieved our objective if we can create an endowment that will ensure that Mount Mission continues for the next 100 years, serving the needs of these at-risk children.
Well, thank you for sharing that with our listeners. One of the things I think that sometimes if we get focused on the news and things like that, we might be concerned for our community, for our nation, for our world. And having an event like this and having people that have been blessed and now are coming together to bless other people really gives us hope and a knowing that there are people doing really wonderful things. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us, because not all the news out there is bad news.
Yes, ma'am.
So there are really great people that have big hearts and want to assist and do other things for other people and give back for the way
That makes me think, too. Earlier you asked me about being here for 20 years and basically what people might be able to experience. Obviously, there is so much need in every community, and particularly in ours, in every facet. This is not the only thing that everybody's behind, and that's what's remarkable, too. When you look at our members and you look at the people that support us, and our vendors and our employees, they're helping in many other areas as well, and we're just grateful that they're helping us, too.
That's wonderful. Well, we need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we want to talk a little bit more about the event itself. And I'm curious how you all decided on bringing those 10 in particular legends here.
Wonderful.
Can you tell me that? Is that a proprietary secret or something?
It's not proprietary.
Okay.
It's friends just picking up that phone and making a call. But that'd be great.
We'll be back here in just a few minutes. This is your host, Kristi Slaughter, on SuperTalk Radio, WFHG. Welcome back. This is your host, Kristi Slaughter, on SuperTalk Radio, WFHG. We're back with my special guest, Marc Eubanks. He's the club manager for the Old Farm, and we're talking about the American legends for Mountain Mission Kids. Before the commercial break, I was just curious how you came to select these 10 celebrities to participate in this event.
It's kind of interesting. It was, of course, you have a list, and you first say, well, who can we get to come and be the legends? And it starts basically with the big three. We had, of course, Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player and the late Arnold Palmer. And, of course, Mr. Palmer passed away in 2016. So we started thinking, what can we do? And, of course, you have to be mindful that the big three, there's only 2 of them that are here. And then we started thinking of basically our friends and our membership list. And so we said, well, let's call and see if we can get Peyton Manning to join us. And so after a call, and of course Peyton always likes to work hard. He does his homework. He said after he learned about Mount Mission and what they're doing, I think it aligned with his core values. And he said I'd like to support that. And then we called Lee Trevino, and of course Mr. Trevino, I mean, he's got a servant's heart. He said, by all means. Jack and Gary were happy to come back and assist. Of course, I won't tell you who all the members are. Not all of them are members, as we say, yet. But then it was just basically call a few more members, and we had them there. They're just remarkable people, and I think the commonality between them is not only were they sports legends, but they serve beyond themselves. And at the end of the day, no matter how many rings, if you count them up on Peyton or Jerry West, how many majors, I think that all those people will be equally known for their leadership and their service beyond sports. And this certainly is going to be a tip in their hat as well.
And this is wonderful publicity for our area, for our rural community too, and for the economy.
Right. It is. Well, there's been such an outpouring of support from our vendors and, of course, the hotels here that are local. It's almost, there's a part of me that says I wish it was a little bit longer than one day, but...
You'll probably be hosting them longer than one day. The main event will be one day, I'm sure.
The main event will be one day, but we think it'll have an impact, and it'll also provide us an opportunity. You know, it's going to be historical. We think because you're going to have these 10 legends together, but also we're going to raise a record amount of money for Mount Mission School endowment. But we also think that, you know, that can go on. We can communicate this story. Of course, CBS is going to be hosting a show, 30-minute show in the spring about the American Legends Tournament. So you can't do that beforehand because it hasn't happened, but they're going to be here to capture the footage. The Golf Channel is going to be here that day, and of course we're going to be capturing photos as well as video so that we can put some things together too, because that'll be an opportunity for us to show from a historical perspective what happened that day, but also share with what is possible if you get a community together and a greater community together focused on a singular purpose.
So how will the day be set up for people who are attending?
Well, we have, one is you're going to have 4,000 people here. So there'll be 2 entrances basically where people can come in. If you've ever attended a golf tournament before, there'll be a run of show, a little itinerary of here's what's going on in the morning. But there'll be a fan experience. There'll be merchandise to commemorate that day. Head covers, putter covers, there'll be apparel, ball markers, all the usual merchandise items that you would find in a golf shop, but they'll be logoed with American legends. We're going to have a silent auction, so there's going to be unique memorabilia in there from our legends. I'm sure that the majority of it will be signed that we'll have for a silent auction that'll help us raise an additional amount of funds. Which brings me to something else. We're not going to know exactly where we are in our fundraising until the end of that day, because there'll be revenue generated that day. So we'll get started, as we said earlier, at about 8. The players will warm up at their leisure, and then we'll have a little presentation where we introduce the legends to everyone on stage, and we'll bring Mount Mission together and do the national anthem, and then we'll get started. But at the conclusion of play, we got to see who wins. And we know Mount Mission's going to win, but we don't know how much. So we would like to bring everyone back to this courtyard and tally up the scores, declare our winners, first, second, and third place, and then also present a check to Mount Mission School. And it's at that time we'll reveal the fruits of our labor and just how much money we were actually able to raise for Mount Mission School's endowment fund. So it'll be a good opportunity before we start the tournament. Now, during the tournament, we're going to play a scramble tournament. We think it's going to be interesting with the amateurs and the legends. We have basically 40 amateurs that they'll be in a foursome. So you have 10 teams of 4, and each team will be paired with a legend. And we're going to do that drawing on the night before at a dinner. So if you think of that, was it the show Deal or No Deal? We're thinking of ideas of how we can do the draw, how you can do the pick. Well, I picked, briefcase number 1. Well, when you open it up, it's Jack Nicklaus.
Oh, can you imagine the anticipation?
I know.
It's going to be crazy.
That'll be exciting. It'll be fun. But once they go out and they start play, you're going to have a scramble tournament going on. It'll probably 4.5 hours. So patrons can go to various locations throughout the golf course and see and wait on the groups to come through, or they may say, I want to see Jack Nicklaus for 9 holes. They can walk along with them 9 holes. There's going to be gallery ropes, etc., just for safety reasons, because they're not all pros. That's the biggest concern, is that we have amateurs out here, so I got to have a little bit wider rope section so that we can protect our patrons. But I think that once it's over, everyone will have had a Old Farm experience, truly unique. And I think that it's just going to be euphoric at the end whenever we announce our winners and how much money we were able to raise for Mount Mission School. And I think that everybody involved here that day at every level will be part of this historic event. And I think they'll feel proud. Pat yourself on the back, we did good. And then you wake up the next day and there's still need either there or somewhere else, and you keep going. And that's our purpose.
And all the volunteers, you said probably 200 some volunteers. When you're doing a big event like this, every single part is important, down to every little detail, whether it's someone working with parking or somebody. Every person is super important because it all has to come together.
It has to. It's a chain, and you got to have strong links, and we do. We've got great people, and plus, someone told me one time, they said, Mark, you have the opportunity to work at a place to where every one of your customers shows up happy. And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, well, they anticipate coming to play the golf course
and to enjoy themselves.
Right. They look forward to it. Whether they're flying in or they're driving, north or south to get to the course, they're anticipating your arrival. So all of your customers are happy. I know that everybody will have a upbeat spirit that day of anticipation. So it does start in the parking area. We're going to be parking everyone on property. You got to get everybody into the entrance. We think that that's going to be, efficient and effective. That's the way it should be. And a couple little gifts to hand out to everybody when they come in, and then get started with the festivities. And we'd like every one of your listeners, as well as anyone that's around, to pray for great weather that day. That's what we're
Absolutely.
That's what we're putting in the hands of our Heavenly
God
Father.
can do that.
That's right. I mean,
He can even change the weather forecast. I've seen that before.
We need a wonderful day, and it's going to be a wonderful day. We can't forget the purpose, and we said that early on. Our purpose is to create sustainability for Mount Mission School for the next century, so that they can continue to pour into these children's hearts and educate them, so that they can go out and be servant leaders for this nation. And that's what we're here for. So nothing's going to rain on that parade.
Where can people find out more information about the American Legends?
You can find out more information about the American Legends at www.theamericanlegends.com. So you have to put in theamericanlegends.com. We've got a website. There's some videos on there.
You have Facebook, I think, too.
We have Facebook. Now we're getting into something I'm not as familiar with.
We'll put all the links up after the show airs.
We
so
have
everybody
Facebook, and I think we have Instagram, and of course you can get to the American Legends website from the Old Farms website. You can go there, and then of course all those websites, the American Legends, the Lodge, the Pavilion, the Old Farm, will take you to Mount Mission School too. So the Mount Mission School website, you can visit there. So.
Thank you for hosting me today. I know you're extremely busy, so I appreciate the time that you've taken out to speak with me. We are doing this on location at the Lodge at the Old Farm. I was looking at your website this morning and saw some pictures of the Lodge. This is relatively new.
This is this is our third season with the Lodge and the Pavilion in operation. So
a beautiful location. If somebody's looking for an event or a wedding or something,
it's not a bad place to have an event. It's not a bad place to come to work every day. It's a beautiful setting, and we do have. You can see all that on the website, the Lodge and the Pavilion website, or you can just call the farm and say, "I want to talk to Mark." But I might
from
not,
SuperTalk.
From SuperTalk. That's right. That's right.
Well, thank you again. We really appreciate it. We're looking forward to the event.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to your listeners and your viewers about Mount Mission School and the American Legends. And we welcome any support that they could provide us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in just a moment. This is your host, Kristi Slaughter, on SuperTalk Radio, WFHG.